and welcome to PositiveMindset.tv, where each week we delve into the mindsets and see how they are creating experiences in our lives. Hi, I'm Leesa Myers, and I am so thrilled to have you here with us today. Today we're going to talk about our body image and how that mindset creates those experiences. And today I'm again at this incredible expo where we have some very powerful women that have agreed to come and talk with me. And Starling is just powerful. I got to see her on stage and I just knew that I had to have her here. So thank you for being with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about who is Tara. Make sure I'm saying it right.
Tara, just like
Tara.
Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
Or as my grandparents from the South used to say, Tara! Well, Tara is somebody very different than who she used to be. Or, I guess a more accurate way of saying it is that the Tara of today is the Tara who started out in this world but then got lost under the weight of the beauty myths. Growing up, I was always the tallest girl in the school, and I hit puberty first, and I had strange ideas about how to wear my hair and clothes to wear, and I had acne quite early, quite bad. So I was the girl who was always made fun of, and was terrorized. And in fact, I remember this yesterday in junior high school. We have our big crushes, and there was this guy, Jason Sweet, who was the girl everybody had a crush on, and we just watched him from afar. And one day in the administration building, I was actually in front of him in the line for the drinking fountain. And he was standing behind me, my heart's beating, because that was the closest I'd ever gotten to Jason Sweet. And I'm thinking, this is the most amazing moment of my life, until as I leaned down to drink from the water fountain, I heard him say to his friend that was standing behind him, "Oh great, now we have to go drink from another water fountain, because if we drink from this one, we'll get cootie germs. We'll get acne cooties, because I had acne." And I was just crushed, and fortunately the exit was the other direction, so as I walked away they didn't see the tears that were streaming down my face, but I grew up thinking that I am an ugly girl, and that was the mindset that I had, and the internal identity, that was the reflection that I saw. And then a very curious thing happened. As soon as I got my first tube of mascara and my first tube of lipstick, I went overnight from boys, saying that we can't drink in the water fountain after her and running away from me, to wanting to carry my books home from school and bringing me flowers. And so overnight in my mind I became the ugly girl who's tricking everyone into believing that she's beautiful. And the older I got, as I grew into my height and kind of grew into my features, and as I began to learn how to use makeup with more skill, people began responding to me positively about my appearance, and people would often say things like, "You're so beautiful, you should be a model." And because of the mindset that I had, because of the internal story, all of their words literally bounced off this belief that I had about myself, and they never penetrated into my heart. Underneath all of their praise, protected, just isolated from that by the beauty myth and by my own destructive mindset, I was always the ugly girl who was tricking everyone into believing that she was beautiful. And the weight of carrying around that mask grew heavier and heavier as I grew in my life, until in my mid-30s, my life imploded. I hit my own ground zero, demise of my second marriage, ended up being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. All of the negative things that I believed about myself came crashing down, and I was at the very tragic and fortunate place where I had to finally clear away all the rubble, clear away all the ashes, clear away all the lies, and start asking myself, what does beauty really mean?
Wow, that is powerful, and I know exactly. I got to the point as well in my career that I hit that rock bottom. And the thing is that we think that is the worst place to be. And in truth, it is the best place to be. Absolutely. One of my friends said that, when you're creating and structuring something new, that it gets messy, it gets ugly. A perfect scenario is that rubble, the ashes and that. But then something beautiful emerges. So what emerged for you from that rubble?
Well, out of the ashes, out of the rubble of my life, emerged the truth. Once you light the match and and sometimes that match looks different ways for me. You know, it had a whole bevy of catastrophic things, but when I finally was forced to look at what was beneath the rubble and start asking the questions, what does beauty really mean? How do we access it? Do I have it? Why does it matter? I began realizing that beauty wasn't a reflection of how I looked. It was a product of how I lived. And everything that the media promises, so there's all these promises attached to the idea of being beautiful. And the media creates this beauty myth and tells us, indoctrinates us from the time before we can even read or write. It indoctrinates us with these ideas that unless we reflect the socially constructed, artificially manufactured, warped ideal of beauty, that we're not beautiful, we're not worthy, and we're not enough. And it attaches all these promises to beauty that if you do meet these standards, then you'll be loved, you'll be adored, you'll be cherished, you'll be valued, all of these things. And I realized that's why it's so important to us, because those are good desires.
That's what we want.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are intrinsically good desires. But we're taught that the only way we can secure those for ourselves is to meet this impossible manufactured ideal. But once I began clearing away the rubble and really asking the right questions and being willing to listen to the right answers, I realized that all of these line items that are the promise of beauty, they are true when we access and anchor into true beauty, and that's based in how we live and not how we look. And it does not matter how much we appear like the beauty myth's idea of beauty. If we're not living from a beautiful place, and if we don't have the mindset of true beauty, then we won't feel loved. It's like this inside out thing, and I lived that my whole life. You know, I had not a day went by when somebody didn't tell me, a stranger or a friend or a colleague, oh, you're so beautiful, and all I could think is, you're so fooled.
Yeah.
And now, as the last few years, I've begun to live from the inverse paradigm that how I live is what creates beauty inside me. My life experience is to spin 180-degree shift, and it's been remarkable.
Yeah. Well, and I love, you know, and I want to, I can't even think of the word, but express again what you're saying, because there's probably people out there that look in the mirror and just see ugly. You know, those that are suffering with bad acne, those that, you know, have their teeth not as pretty, and they're probably looking at you and saying, oh, she's beautiful. You know, she doesn't know what that means. But what you're saying, you know, I love what you're saying, is that how you live. And so repeat that again, so that because I really want you to hear this, because even when, you know, that thought of what beauty is from what they're saying, that beauty is in, you know, kind of that in the eye of the beholder, but we're the beholder of ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I teach this everywhere I go, that true beauty is not a reflection of how you look, it's a product of how you live. And when you live in a way that is beautiful, and we talk about that all day, but when you live in a way that is beautiful, all of those promises that are attached to the media's false ideal of beauty, which they don't come through on, they don't deliver. Because having worked as a celebrity makeup artist in the Hollywood film industry for the last 17 years, I've worked with some of the most beautiful people in the world, people that, you know, at that time were on the magazine covers, most beautiful person in the world. And I can tell you from experience, most of them don't feel like they're having all these promises delivered on. But when you live from the true beauty paradigm, 100% of the time, those promises are fulfilled. Those promises are delivered. And all of a sudden your focus, instead of being inward, turns outward. It's kind of like, you know, a black hole. It's an inward rotation, and everything around it gets sucked into it and just kind of like crushed into this small, dense space. But you look at the opposite of that, a pulsar, which the direction is reversed, and a pulsar actually emits light. And so when we shift that paradigm, our existence goes from being very much like a black hole, where we're just searching and reaching and volume for any evidence, any hope that we're beautiful. And because it's based on an artificial standard, it's never enough. And you know, you mentioned a few moments ago, you know, people looking in the mirror who have acne and maybe, you know, bad teeth or whatever, that, you know, they don't feel beautiful. But it's been my experience, both personally and working with, you know, some of those beautiful people in the world, that unless you have that internal mindset of that my beauty is not contingent upon somebody else's arbitrary definition, that my beauty is based on the way that I live, not the way that I look. Without that mindset, you can be the most aesthetically beautiful person in the world and you won't see it. You'll look in the mirror and you'll always see something wrong. And the reverse of that is when you live from the paradigm of true beauty, you can look in the mirror and your teeth might not be crooked. I mean, I've got one tooth that's like moving like this, and somebody's looking like, your teeth might not be perfect, your skin might not be perfect, you know, your hair might not be perfect, but you can look in the mirror and say, you know what, I see a beautiful person there that I love unconditionally, and that mindset is absolutely magic. When you live from that mindset, anything's possible.
Absolutely. So where can they find you?
You can find me at starlingtruebeauty.com, just facebook.com/Starling or Starling Beauty on Facebook. But I'd love to have you come visit us, and we're always having conversations about how do we debunk the beauty myth in the media, how do we reprogram ourselves with a new paradigm, and then what tools are available to us to express our own unique beauty with tools like makeup, like hairstyle, like clothing, but to express it in a way that's authentic and that's powerful and that really shares who we are and what we're here to do on this planet in a way that's unforgettable.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. And everyone, we will also have a longer episode with Tara on blogtalkradio.com/Leesa Myers Positive Effects. And so we'll have a little bit longer conversation so we can get into some of those steps. And I am just so thrilled to have you here with us. And and it's so true. A story of my grandma. You know, she always looked in the mirror, and she was a beautiful woman, but she always looked in the mirror and called herself ugly. And it didn't matter what anybody else said, she didn't see it. And I could see with myself in that, and it's very hard to look at yourself in the mirror, at first, when you first start, but look at yourself and look at your eyes and say, I love you. And at first you may not feel like it, you may be like, oh yeah, that, it's not true. But I guarantee you that if you continue doing that, it works. And so again, thank you, and thank you everyone for being here with us, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Namaste.
Namaste.